because
yeah. So just wanted to we can continue talking. Still, we're gonna wait for a couple more minutes for the people to roll in. Just about 2 more minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, we're basically live right now.
Yeah. So you'd better make some intro then.
Yeah, sure, will do. So just to make sure that everyone who is here already can see and hear us, if you guys could leave a comment letting us know where you guys are joining us from today. That way we'll know that everything is working on our end. And before we start, I want to let everybody know that the topic of today's discussion webinar is the SEO trends to watch in next year in 2021. And there will be a recording. The video will just go live on YouTube as soon as we're done recording. Well, not recording, it's already live, but it's going to be a recording of it is going to be up on YouTube. So everybody can just sit back and soak it all in. And we will have a Q&A session at the very end. I'm not sure. I'm not getting any comments. Do you guys see anything happening?
No.
I'm not seeing any comments either.
Yeah.
Quickly check on YouTube.
I can write something in a private chat, but I can't write anything in the comment section.
No, I think that's just.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
hey, Niels. Yeah, I see a comment from Niels.
Oh, hey there, from Antwerp. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
thanks
Niels,
for joining us.
Yeah, welcome, Niels. All right. So ask away questions in the chat. We will have a Q&A session at the very end once we get through the questions that we have prepared beforehand to discuss the SEO trends. Hello, Mark. So great. Now let's get started, and let me first introduce our 4 amazing guest experts, so to say. So first we have Chris Rolfe, who is a multilingual and international SEO expert over at CR Global Digital Marketing. And Chris is originally from Switzerland, but he has been in Colorado for over 2 decades. And given his international and multilingual background, he is one of the few professionals in the industry who truly lives and breathes global SEO on a daily basis. So welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining us. Next, I want to introduce Matthew Edgar, who is a partner and consultant over at Elementive, which is a consulting firm based in Denver, Colorado, also Colorado. So he is a web consultant specializing in web analytics and technical SEO, and he does a lot of different talks at conferences. He teaches workshops and also hosts webinars, which you can see he is doing right now. Also, we are joined by Alexandra Kachalova.
Thanks for having me today.
Glad to have you with us. She's the founder of DigitalOlympus.net and has worked in digital marketing for over half a decade. She is a digital marketing consultant who helps digital marketing tool developers enter new markets and boost sales. She has previously was responsible for advancing SEM Russia's brand presence in Europe, and she is also a frequent guest speaker, and you can find her in major industry events such as Brighton SEO, Ungagged, SEO Zone, SMX, SEM Days, and many others. And last but not least, we are also joined by George Casiotes, who is the managing director over, I'm hoping I said everything correctly there, the name of the company as well. Oh, I haven't mentioned that yet.
Let's see.
Director of Minutia, is that right?
I would say Minutia. We'll see.
Okay, got it. So George is a content and has a content and SEO agency that helps SaaS and tech companies drive organic growth. He has been mentioned in and has written for sites and publications like Founder, G2, OpenView, CoSchedule, SERPstat, Growth Mentor, and much more. So, that was a lot to say about everybody, but not enough about each individual one of you, for sure. So I'm also seeing that we have a lot of people. Well, people are continuing to join us in the chat. So let us then get started. So we're going to discuss a couple of questions, issues regarding SEO, and let's hear what our experts have to say. So the first question, I'm actually gonna address these questions randomly to each one of you, so that it's not gonna be like always starting off with Chris and then always ending with George. So the first one I'm gonna throw to Alex, if that's okay with you.
Which means we need to listen to you.
Yeah, for sure. So you have to listen to each one of you. You don't want to chime in, adding something that people already mentioned. So cool. So the first question is, how has COVID-19 impacted business in terms of SEO? Alex, would you take it away?
I'll do this. So I think, what we've noticed, because Digital Olympus is a link building agency, and from our side, we noted that, in fact, a lot of businesses have started to grow their SEO and link building budgets. Just during the last week before Christmas, it was a very busy one because we closed 3 new contracts. And so, as I can see from my perspective, some niches, have shown a significant growth. G2 has published some interesting study where they were actually analyzing various verticals of products, because G2 is kind of an aggregator in some way of various services, cloud products, and they reported that some niches like video conferencing, for sure, like Zoom, and some other similar products, this vertical has shown significant growth. So while, for sure, travel products and any niches related to traveling and similar stuff, they're actually kind of right now in a very tough situation. In fact, we have our own conference, which is also called Digital Olympus, and it's a live one. And currently, we've been actually planning to postpone our conference till the next year. But the thing that due to recent regulations of the Polish government, because we decided to have this conference in Poland, they turned our venue, into a hospital for COVID. For those that, for people that was affected by COVID. So as you can guess, offline conferences, they are struggling as well. Well, but it's always very interesting that when you some opportunities are kind of closing and ending up, you always have something new that popping up. And so the thing that what we did, we strongly reconsidered our business model and focused on things that started to generate revenue streams. And I think that the beauty of any, let's say, crisis, that you a lot of opportunities are opening as well. And so in terms of SEO, there are tons of new niches that have been established and developed during COVID. And I'm sure that my colleagues will share more cases, besides pointing out an obvious one like video conferencing or something like that. Well, for instance, we've recently closed a deal with a client that they reconsider their business model, and previously they've been kind of working with clients offline and helping them with setting up their IT. And right now they kind of restructured their process and doing it mostly online, just setting up their servers and ensuring their phone call systems are working, CRM systems are working correctly. Well, the same with, for instance, DocuSign. I'm certain that they receive tons of new clients, and they are currently, expecting, they are growing heavily.
Oh, Andrew, you're muted.
Yeah, you are muted, sadly.
Yeah, sorry, I was coughing while you were talking, so I decided to turn off. So thanks for your answer. That was very interesting. Maybe somebody, we have a volunteer to add on. Do you guys? I just don't want to point to anybody. I'm going to get
really
somebody.
quickly. Really quickly. So for us, it's actually been the best year so far. A lot of companies.
Yeah, for us as well, actually.
Yeah. A lot of companies realized, once this pandemic hit, they did not have a digital marketing strategy in place. So business went through the roof after initial, I think 2 months, it was totally dead. And then it just took off like crazy, right? So I guess the key takeaway is, I think a lot of companies learned they do need a comprehensive digital marketing strategy. So for us, it's been a crazy ride this year.
Yeah, for us too. But it was nice.
I would add to that and just say, I mean, it has been interesting to see how SEO has trended this year because, I mean, right, SEO has been around for a long time at this point. It's not new by any means, but I think to a large extent, a lot of companies have just kind of said, we're just going to take SEO for granted. If we get traffic, we do. If we don't, we don't. And not a ton of companies have focused on it. SEO has, I think, really gone mainstream this year. I mean, and one of the things that's just been interesting to see across the board is how so many things that were kind of growing, were expanding, have just accelerated. I mean, video conferencing is like that, but I would put SEO in that bucket as well, where it's been growing. Companies have been catching on to SEO's importance over the last decade, especially last 5 years. But really this year, a whole lot of people said, oh, SEO matters. We need to pay attention to this. We need to focus on this. And I hope that one good thing that comes out of this year and continues into the next decade is that SEO really does continue to have a seat at the table, that we really can continue to help, because we do need to. SEO is a core part of a digital marketing strategy, and if you're ignoring it, you're not going to succeed as well. So I hope that's one good thing that comes out of this year, is that SEO is more just an accepted part of marketing, and companies really do continue to pay attention to it.
I agree. And sorry, Matt, totally agree. I think SEO, or let's call it digital marketing in general, it definitely went up the ranking, right? So many more important people in companies, they now realize the importance. Everything is online. A lot of businesses are going out of business because they do not do SEO or digital marketing at this point. This is why I think we are, lucky to be in the right field. We're seeing such a tremendous growth. We're having to turn away clients at this point.
Wow. Yeah, I just want to add that it's very good for an SEO industry that, due to those special circumstances, a lot of people and decision makers have started to be aware about SEO. So we are growing our brand awareness as an industry, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. What about you, George? Do you have anything to add about this? Maybe something specific for Greece, or maybe you have some insights that you want to share with us?
We are based in Greece, but we are working with clients mainly from the US, Canada, the UK, English-speaking countries. And I must say that I agree with pretty much everything that the guys have already said. And I just feel that, all the unfortunate events that followed the outbreak this year just accelerated what would happen either way, sooner or later, when it comes to digital marketing. COVID-19 just accelerated the process of getting there. And I think that this is a good thing for us. And I want to see it, it's obviously a threat as well for businesses, but I want to see it as an opportunity, because it allows you to change the way you're doing things in order to survive, and even discover something that you have missed throughout all these years. So I guess I want to see it as an opportunity and not as much as a threat.
Yeah, good point. Definitely works how you look at things, to turn to your perspective. So I think we can move on to the next question, because I think we basically covered the first one, the very general one. So let's move on to the next one, which is, what SEO strategies proved to be effective this year in 2020? And maybe we'll start off with George, if you'd like to comment on this.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
So we are working mainly with SaaS and tech companies. And as Alexandra correctly pointed out earlier, many SaaS and tech companies have witnessed tremendous growth this year. I would say that I will just mention one example, one particular example, and I will just say that this year I saw the importance of getting to a topic as early as possible, because when demand for that topic will explode, as the case was this year with COVID, you will be there first, and you will capitalize on the opportunity more than anyone else. And so I would say that you just have to move faster when it comes to, for example, content creation, and try to get there before anyone else. And even if that means that, because typically what we do for, let's say that we start with keyword research, typically what most people do is that they judge a keyword, a term that they want to cover based on the data that they see. But the data that they see is past data. Like, you don't see future demand for a term. So I would say that if you start rethinking the whole keyword process, keyword research process, and content creation process, and start to realize that this is the current state of things, and I have to move fast, you may be in a better position moving forward. And we saw that with some businesses this year, particularly in the SaaS industry, where we really saw an increase, a significant increase in demand. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, like, in terms of the SEO strategy, you would say the speed, like how quickly you get content out there.
Yeah, because
yeah,
exactly. Because I think that with SEO, and I think that the other guys will have similar experiences. Things in many cases, especially if you're working with bigger clients, move relatively slowly.
Extremely.
Yeah, we have to ask for development time. Let's see, we have some big projects, and our developers, and the SEO will not be a priority for the next 6 months, just so you know. But I think that if you take all these things aside, and you understand basically that SEO is a big part of can be a big part of your growth in many cases, not in all cases, and you move faster, you may be able to be in a better position moving forward.
Okay, thanks. Matthew, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, two thoughts. I guess one SEO strategy this year for a lot of companies, unfortunately, was, lack of a better way of putting it, survival, and just how do we get through this year? And I think there wasn't really an overall strategy per se to it. It was more just kind of a day-to-day, did we make it? And you see this in lots of different ways. I mean, sites that obviously were losing traffic, how do you try and recover from that? How do you figure out a way to get what little traffic there is coming to your site, if there's just a loss of search demand like in travel. But you also see this play out for sites that were benefiting, for lack of a better word, from this change. I mean, e-commerce sites, as people moved online and started to shop online, there's a lot of e-commerce sites that weren't ready for that amount of traffic. How do you all of a sudden scale up your servers? How do you scale up your code so that way it can now support 10x the traffic than you had a week ago, than you were prepared for? How do you do that? And how do you do that, especially if your developers are buried, taking care of a whole bunch of other projects and taking care of a bunch of other tasks that need to be done as well. So I think that really was, I don't know if that's a strategy per se, but I think that's where a lot of people ended up focusing their time, was just in survival mode of, how do we kind of get through this year? How do we make sure that we are ready for what's changed? And I think it gets to just more broadly that, I think somewhat what this year has shown, and as we think about 2021, it's keeping in mind that you do have to kind of be ready for the unexpected. And that's largely always the case in business, but this year, even more so than years past, that you just totally have to be ready for the unexpected. And that means that you have to be thinking about, okay, how do we scale up our servers, and take on more traffic if we, otherwise are not? How do we, make sure that our content is continuing to be as relevant as possible? How do we make sure that, we're really organizing our site in the best way possible? Are we structuring the best way possible? How are we really getting ready for these things that we may not, have otherwise thought to be ready for. And I think that's what a lot of people realized as they were caught unaware, by the unexpected this year, and hadn't thought through what they needed to do with those things. And they were forced to do so. And I think moving forward, that's something that I'm starting to see people incorporate more into their strategies of, okay, we built it with these assumptions, but what happens if those assumptions change? How would we adjust for this? And I think that's something that moving into next year and years beyond, hopefully companies continue to include in their strategies.
Thanks, Matthew. Chris, do you have anything to add? Maybe Alex?
Yeah, so we did 3 things. We implemented micro SEO strategies. We used to host SEO workshops in the Boulder, Denver area. Went online right away. So we started to do webinars every 2-3 weeks. We created evergreen landing pages. So if you guys at home want to do a search for like international SEO training, you should see the chrisralph.com website and the Boulder SEO marketing website. So we optimized our webinar landing pages. So we're getting hundreds of people that sign up for our webinars on a monthly basis. We just optimized 3 or 4 webinar landing pages. Continues, to connect us with people that are interested in what we have to say, right? Then we, as I said, we created evergreen landing pages. I highly recommend you guys do the same thing, where there's certain topics that people want to, interested in, want to connect with you. Don't always change the URL. Create evergreen pages that you can easily update, slap a new date on there, a new webinar date, etc. Works amazingly well for us and our clients. And then repurpose existing content. Now's the time, or back in February was the time where we went through all of our content. We looked at what's still relevant, what's not. We actually redirected a lot of old crappy content, and then we updated content that was a little bit outdated. We put a new date on there, a new title, etc., made it better, and that was extremely successful. So basically, clean up, right? And then create evergreen landing pages and focus on what, your target audience is most interested in. That has worked insanely well for us.
So in terms of, sorry, Alex, in terms of the strategy that you had previously, like in 2019,
yep.
You basically didn't change anything except that you were anticipating a lot more people going online. Basically.
Yeah, we knew, so I was like watching so many webinars and I'm like, hey, people out there, they're interested in, learn how to do SEO, international SEO, Google Ads, etc. Like if you do a search for Google Ads webinar, I think we're number 1, 2, or 3, right? Super competitive keyword. It took a little bit of time to get up there, but we now have, hundreds of people sign up for our webinars on a monthly basis. Like, and it's crazy, how easy it was to set this up. And we have too many leads to follow up with. We don't even follow up with leads at this point. Yeah.
Sorry for cutting you off earlier, Alex.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to add that I absolutely agree with Chris when it comes to removing some outdated content. That's what we did actually at Digital Olympus. We don't really do an SEO strategy for our clients, and the biggest reason why we only do link building because it's very hard to control this process, and we don't really go into all those struggles. So we just do some particular part like link building, and that's very much it. So we mostly work with companies, and we try to stay away from companies that don't really know why they need link building, what kind of page they want to build links to, and so on. Just because it's going to be most probably pointless in terms of the results, because they don't really know how to just prioritize pages and why this or that page needs particular links and so on. And one more thing that really kind of for us is very important is reputational risks, because when you have kind of each and every client at the end of the day, they want to receive some growth of traffic or whatever it is, so they kind of looking for that. And when they invest money, they want to receive something back. And when you don't have a very strategic approach to link building, it's just turning out into, like, you know, some kind of links that go into some pages, but in reality, like, most probably you're not going to get any results out of this activity. So I would recommend cleaning your website and making it as small as possible, especially if you are quite small business and, like, you know, you don't need to have tons of pages. Then just, you know, reconsider your current content strategy and try to get rid of pages that you don't really need. Then I would do the second step here. Actually, that was Georges from Minutia helped us. So they with the help of ClearScope, you can analyze each and every of your page. And so ClearScope is a kind of a tool that helps you find some, like, you know, keywords based on the list of pages that currently ranking extremely well at the top of Google results. And so once we did this with some of our core pages, we started to see a significant growth of traffic, and including, like, you know, the number of keywords by which those pages ranking and so on. Well, I should mention that our main keywords are related to link building, which is insanely competitive. But even though it's really, really competitive, finally, for sure, we built tons of links, or over 400 back to this page, particular one. It's an email outreach guide. And so starting from the last quarter, I believe, we finally started to rank at the, I think it was like, it depends on the day, but it's second or third position in the US by our main keyword email outreach, which I consider the main one when it comes to properly delivered link building. People will be searching for email outreach. Well, for sure, it's not like, you know, a money generated keyword. It's more like a brand awareness, but that's very cool. So I would do, like, you know, a clean on your website with, like, you know, the right redirects, so you're not going to miss any link juice. So take care of this as well. And then update your current content that you consider the most important one, or that at least ranking quite well in Google with the right keywords, with the help of similar tools to ClearScope. That will definitely help.
Is it Andrew still there?
No, we missed it.
All right. Why don't we, I have the questions here.
We can take some.
Let me see. The core update that just happened in December. Let me see, Matt. You're more a tech SEO guy. How did it affect your clients, or what did you see? Like, what kind of clienteles did it affect? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is that there didn't appear to be a real theme within this. You know, it seems to have affected everybody, at least to a certain extent. Some verticals, it's a little tough to tell if they were affected or not, right? I mean, e-commerce sites, gosh, they're up at the beginning of December. Who would have figured an e-commerce site was up at the beginning of December? So that's a little tough to tease out their effects, but everybody has been. I think the more interesting theme for me hasn't been so much the industries affected, but the sites that are up now tend to be ones that were down as a result of the May algorithm update. And it, I mean, almost one for one. Sites that, you know, were down in May are up now, or vice versa. Hello. And so I think that, for me, gets to what this December update really showed for me is how fickle the Google algorithm updates tend to be. And how subject your site is to the whims of the algorithm update. And there are certain sites in different verticals, one in travel that I'm thinking of, one in kind of just a content news type space, who were affected by both the May and the December algorithm updates in different directions, for no real good reason that we can tell. Like, both sites are really high quality. They're both, you know, good backlinks, they have good technical structure, like all of that's on point. So for me, I mean, I don't know if there's really necessarily a theme out of it, other than just kind of the theme of, it does seem like, your site might be subject to the algorithm updates in big ways, and you need to be prepared for that, which means you need to have other traffic sources if you are affected negatively. I'm curious, kind of what all of you have seen, if you've seen more patterns and themes within this update.
Yeah, so I just want to.
Yeah.
I agree with you. This major algorithm update, there was no clear theme. I looked at what sites gained, what sites lost, right? It was basically more about, I think, rewarding sites that just did a really good job overall since the last algorithm update in May. So, and for most of our clients, we didn't see a massive change at all. So I think we're doing a good job in that, we're not trying to game the system, which is like sticking to a good methodology. So we saw usually for most of our clients, a normal uptick, but there was no crazy up or down. And I think this is going to be the future, right? As long as you stick to the webmaster guidelines as provided by Google, Bing, Yandex, etc., you're going to be safe. Yeah, I'd love to hear. So, Andrew, I asked the question already to the panel.
Yeah. Thanks for having my back. My computer froze up. So as far as I understand, Matthew has already answered, and Chris, you have already also contributed to the next question about the Google's, right? So, George, do you have anything to add about Google's updates? And
I'd say that I agree with both of the guys. We haven't seen major changes, both positive or negative. But the thing with Google's updates is that even though we always send an email to our clients after especially a core update to let them know that there has been an update, and if you notice some, we will monitor the website's traffic, but if you notice some change, you have to know that it may be due to that. I would say apart from the fact that we send the email and we let our clients know, because they have to know, obviously, I really don't, get into the specifics of the updates, because I know that if you do the things that you have to do for your website, if you constantly try to improve your content, the experience for the users, the overall experience to be as useful as possible and to satisfy search intent, you don't need to, dive into the specifics of its algorithm update. And so, the same with this one.
Oh, so if I just quickly want to add quickly talk about the core Web Vitals report. So Google announced that it's going to be a ranking signal, right? They're going to announce when it's going to be a ranking signal. So now is the time, go into your Search Console and actually take a look at the core Web Vitals report. Fix whatever they tell you to fix, right? We got plenty of time now. I predict it's probably going to be in, March, April, May, that time frame when this is going to be a ranking signal. Plenty of time, right? So all you have to do, go into Search Console, get that stuff fixed.
And I would jump in. I think there's an interesting comparison between the Core Web Vitals update that's coming up next year and the December update that just happened. The December update is kind of this algorithm update from Google that's nebulous. We're not really sure what it's about. It's generally probably about EAT factors, probably about site quality, like you said, sites that are generally, doing good. They have good content, good user experience. They probably did okay in the December update, but we don't really know. Core Web Vitals is a very different kind of algorithm update, right? It's very different nature to it. It's very specific. It's very clear what needs to be done. The Core Vitals update is more like the mobile usability update or the SSL update, where Google just said, hey, we want you to do this, and here's what we want you to do. And you just need to go and do it. Those kind of algorithm updates you need to pay attention to and you need to follow. But, like you said, it just comes down to like the December update. Why do you really need to dig into this? Why do you need to figure this out? You probably don't need to spend too much time there. Just keep doing the good stuff that you're doing. But Core Vitals, very different way to think about that algorithm update, and calling these both updates. They're very different in how you should respond to them.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. So as far as I know, this is what Alex doesn't really want to have anything to say about this, so we can move on to the next question, which is what Google, what general SEO trends should we focus on next year? Because I just wanted to be very general because we're gonna go dig a bit deeper into SEO. So just as general as you can be. Let's start off with George.
Sure. So I would say that first and foremost, you have to, website owners and businesses have to seriously start thinking about the experience. Google is capable of understanding somehow whether or not a user can have a great experience on your website and find actually what they are looking for. And I think I see this as an increasingly important factor, let's say, to determine a website's overall quality. So I would say the experience is an important SEO trend, not really a trend, but something that will be prominent moving forward. Another one is the fact that Google nowadays is way beyond just keywords. You have to start understanding that Google nowadays works with the knowledge graph, and entity identification in that context is extremely important. So I would say that you have to, if your business, for example, is a content marketing software, you have to understand that in order for Google to understand that you are a content marketing software and thus to get you visibility for terms that have commercial value and that are important to you, you have to help Google make the associations between content marketing software and your business. And to do that, you have to talk about, for example, top of mind, content marketing strategy, content marketing tips, content marketing tools, and so on and so forth. So I would say that you have to steer away from, typical keyword research and keyword density, let's say, strategies, and focus more on entities and understand that Google has become really smart at making associations as to what your business is all about, and try to, help Google make the right associations.
Thanks a lot. Chris, you want to continue?
Yeah, so I totally agree. There's actually a good book called Differentiate or Die. I forgot the name of the author. I think 2021 moving forward, it's all about, prove to Google that you're a little bit different than all the, in our case, SEO and digital marketing agencies, right? There's thousands, hundreds of thousands out there. Like, why would somebody pick us over somebody else? You have to prove to Google and your audience, mostly, primarily your audience, that you're the right fit for them. So try to specialize in, really figure out why are you the best fit for somebody out there, and then develop content around that theme. You still have to do keyword research, keyword mapping, all that good stuff, but it's becoming less and less important. I think it's all about the EAT update, the BERT update, and then the more tactical updates such as the core web vitals, etc. But for me, it's all about, what differentiates you from your competitors, and then try to clearly communicate this to your target audience. So understand who's your target audience and how are you going to communicate to them why you're the right fit. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thanks a lot. Does anybody else want to contribute? Alex, Matthew?
I'll jump in and just say, I think the focus on users is really important on all aspects of SEO. Certainly content. The other way that we've been thinking about it is within technical SEO. Technical SEO is usually thought of as just go in and you look at code. Not really. Technical SEO, that side of it, is really about the structure of the website. How well does it work? And even here, you need to think about users. You need to think about how are people really using it. Core Web Vitals is one way to kind of understand how people might be using your site. But I think within all these aspects, content, technical, structure, keyword usage, all of it comes down to if you aren't doing user testing as a part of understanding your SEO, you need to, because that's, really what Google's trying to do is they're trying to understand the web the way a human understands the web. And yes, you can look at Google Search Console. Yes, you can look at your analytics. Yes, you can look at quantitative metrics, but you need to look at qualitative metrics too. You need to look at what actual human beings are saying about your website, whether technically, whether within content, what are they struggling with, what are they liking on your site. I love the idea of differentiation. That's a really good way of thinking about it. Are people picking up on that? And so I think if you haven't already started doing usability testing, and actually sitting down and interviewing people about your website, not surveys, not remote stuff, actually hopping on Zoom and having a conversation with people who use your website, you need to, because that's, I think, the best way to figure these things out and understand these things. And that's been true for the last several years, but I think it will just continue to be true, and that'll be the most valuable place to get insights.
Thanks a lot, Matthew. Alex, do you want to add anything about this question?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with the rest of other guys, and I would add that it's like nowadays it's like the main ranking factor will be among those that are quite obvious, like links, technical SEO, and site SEO, keyword research will be just being a brand in the eyes of Google, and I keep just repeating this. And I would strongly consider, adding to your kind of SEO strategy guest blogging, but not considering guest blogging as a link building strategy. I wouldn't recommend this. That's too expensive, and if you do it in a cheap way, then it's not going to pay off to your brand. So what you need to do instead of using it as a link building strategy, use it as a digital PR tool, and as a strategy, as an approach to showcase Google that you are a real expert in your niche, and that that your brand, your website deserves to rank higher. And so you don't need necessarily to do tons of guest posts, just do a few, but those that you're really proud of and that share something really interesting in your industry. And so that's what I would add here. And we do guest blogging for our clients, just because I think nowadays link building, it's besides an SEO value that each and every link should bring back to your website, that's also a digital PR value, so-called, that also some particular links bring back to your website. And links from guest posts, they are like that. And you need to combine those silos in your SEO or whatever strategy. So you need to just, think over this from this perspective, rather than just doing some link building and then, I don't know, doing something else in like a digital PR campaign. Just try to combine everything, and in that way it's going to pay off.
Actually, I just want to add one thing. So actually this year I made it a goal. I had a little project for myself. I wanted to rank #1 for international SEO expert, because that's what I do with my personal website. So I did a lot of speaking engagements, webinars. I think I did one with SE Ranking. So I try to do 4 or 5 webinars, like get invited by other websites. I put a few blog posts out, did some press releases. And I finally reached that #1 spot on Google for international SEO experts. So I think it's all about, the EAT, BERT, try to get these links, that are very specific about what are you trying to rank for. So that has worked extremely well.
Great.
By the way, here's a quick tip. If you can't rank by some reasons via a particular term, there is a workaround. You can start ranking if there is enough opportunity for this. For sure, you need to just, to investigate this. But sometimes it's like, it's doable to start ranking via a particular tone thanks to guest blogging. So what you do, you select a particular tone, do a guest post on a website that has already established itself and has a decent domain rating. Then what you can do to support the guest post, do internal link building. So you ask an editor to connect this post with some posts, that has already gained some visibility in Google and that are relevant to your post. If you don't know how to find those posts, you can go to Ahrefs, and they have a report that shows you best pages by links. I guess in SEO ranking that you might guys have something similar. I just don't know. Anyway, if you use SEO ranking, try to find this report inside SEO ranking tool. You know better than me how to find it. But yeah, you just need to find those pages in some way, and then try to just, to have a chat with an editor. Actually, I've tried to do that on the CXL blog. I'm a regular contributor there, but the term guest blogging is insanely competitive, and it doesn't really turn out as successful as I was I was trying to just to get out of it. Anyway, you can try this, and in some cases it works. So yeah.
Thanks a lot. So because we are running short on time, I decided to combine the next 3 questions. So basically it's what content, backlink, and technical SEO trends should we expect to see in 2021? So depending on what you feel most comfortable talking about, whatever input you have on content, backlinks, or technical trends, we'd love to have your feedback on this or your opinion. So maybe we could continue with Alex. She was the last one talking. Please continue.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not the best expert when it comes to technical SEO, but I'm definitely up to share something about link building. I think my biggest takeaway will be that you need to be very strategic and think over each and every link. So sometimes you might think that this link is a good one, but some time passed and you see it's not really good enough. So I would recommend, just to stay safe with link building, I would recommend following some very, very simple guideline that we have internally. So I just share our internal guidelines that all my colleagues are following. And I think they're pretty strict from one side, and they're pretty easy to follow. So first of all, don't build links on websites that are not really a trustworthy brand. What does it mean? So if a website is just publishing content as kind of a content-based website that doesn't represent any particular product or service, then it's not a safe website to build a link there, because you never know whether this website is part of a private blog network or something else. So that's the first rule. Then if you just, look only at domain rating, that's not enough. I mean, that might be domain authority as well, whatever it is. That's kind of a metric that sums up the quality of a particular website in terms of its backlink profile. So what else you can do here besides looking at domain authority or domain rating? We'll be looking at organic traffic and how relevant this organic traffic to what you do. So basically, the more this traffic is just, matching your current sub-niche, the better. So in that way, that will bring the best SEO value out of this link back to your website. One more thing, besides looking at keywords by which this particular website are ranking, and looking at domain authority and domain rating, that should be definitely decent. You need to take a look at the most recent links that this particular website acquired. So let me give you a quick explanation why. Because some websites, what we noticed, they've been following very, very white label strategies, but then they changed their mind and started to acquire some spammy garbage links. And so if you look at their, at the list of their top referring domains, you will see that they are all decent and good to go. But sometimes it's not like that from their, it's not matching the current situation. They're currently building strategy. And what you need to do, I'm not sure if it's doable in the SEO ranking tool, but if it's doable, then you need to find the report that will show links that have been acquired in the recent, month or two. That's what you can do in the Ahrefs tool. Definitely, they have a special report, and this will point out, this will obviously show to you whether this or that website is following a white label link building strategy, or at some point they change their mind and they started to acquire some spammy links. So to sum all this up quickly, you need to be very careful, and so not to regret what you've done so far, and not to disavow those links, because it's very hard to acquire each and every link. It takes tons of time and effort, and basically I would highly recommend you to think over twice before investing your time and money in building shitty links. That's very much it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alex. What about you, Chris? Do you have anything to contribute about content, backlinks, and tech, or all three?
Yeah, so what we're doing right now, we're identifying the very big keywords for our clients. We're checking, what content do we have to beat? Usually it's long form content, 1,000 words of more. We develop content that's way better than what's currently out there. So just that alone, right, will please Google. Then yes, we're gonna try. I'm a fan of earning backlinks naturally. I do understand, backlinks are still extremely important for SEO, but we try to do as much of natural backlink earning. You can support that through press releases. There's also, off-page entities such as about.me that actually is recognized. If you set up an about.me page, link it back to a specific piece of content or your website, it counts as an official backlink. Or setting up LinkedIn showcase pages, linking back to a specific piece of content. So that's an easy way to get backlinks, right? And then of course, pay attention to all these micro tech Google algorithm updates, and I think you'll be in good shape.
Thanks a lot. George, would you like to comment on this question?
Sure. When it comes to link building as an agency, we don't do that, so I cannot talk about backlinks, but I can definitely talk about content, technical SEO. Two things here. The first one is when it comes to content, you have to be aware of search intent, and the fact that search intent is important and it matters when it comes to content creation. So I would say that instead of just trying to write as much as you can, you have to classify search intent first and try to understand what people expect to see for the target term that you have in mind, the term that you want to cover. Okay, so the first one is search intent matters. It matters a lot, and you have to always classify search intent before you start working on a new piece of content. Okay, and the second one, I think this is quite overseen basically, is internal linking. Internal linking is important as well, and obviously backlinks matter. They are still one of the most important ranking factors, but internal links matter as well, and not only in terms of passing on link equity from pages that have some link equity to pass on to others, but also from a user experience perspective as well. So if there is a page that is important to you for XYZ reasons, because it has commercial value or because it's an important page for your business, a pillar page, for example, you have to care not only for acquiring backlinks back to this page, but also for getting the right internal links back to this page.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Matthew, would you like to add anything on top of that?
Yeah, I mean, I would add on top of everything else, while there's a lot of big new stuff to focus on in 2021, like BERT, like Core Web Vitals, all of that, don't forget that all the old stuff, a lot of the old stuff still applies, certainly from a technical standpoint. How you structure your canonical tags and your duplicate content and manage that still matters. How you handle thin content, that still matters. How you guide robots around the site with no index or with disallow statements. That still matters. Mobile usability, that still matters. Are you rendering pages in a way that Google can crawl them? That still matters. So, it's easy to get lost, and I'm just as guilty as this as anybody on the bright shiny objects of Core Web Vitals and the new stuff coming up. But I think it's important to remember that there's a lot of history, there's a lot of other things that matter, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. As we think about what's coming next, it's also just about, like we said earlier, making sure your site is as good as possible, and we know a lot of what goes into that already. So don't lose sight of that just because of the new stuff coming up.
Great. Thanks a lot, everybody, for your input. And so we don't have a lot of time left, so we're going to have maybe like one question as a takeaway, like the last question that we have prepared beforehand. So everybody who is not convinced about SEO, listen right now, because we're going to discuss what you need to do for next year. If you only had one piece of advice, what would you do? So please, Matthew, could you give your one piece of advice?
Yeah, my one piece of advice is, Google's important, SEO's important, but what's most important of all is build a really great website that works for your customers. That should be your first and predominant focal point. And SEO is important too, but don't lose sight of the fact that your main job here is to build a great website for customers, and then slot in SEO after that.
Cool, thanks. George, what is your main takeaway or like main advice for next year for everybody doing SEO?
I'd say that in most cases, SEO can work as a growth lever for a business. Okay. And I say most because, for example, if you're creating a new category, let's say you're Drift back in 2014, 2015, no one is looking for conversational marketing. So in this case, it is not worth investing in SEO. But in most cases, SEO can work for a business. If you're going to invest in SEO, you have to be committed to it. Otherwise, don't do it at all. That's my piece of advice for people.
Great. Thanks. Alex, what about you? Like one piece of advice for next year for SEO.
Okay, so I think it's very important to understand that SEO consists of different parts, and that's not only content or technical SEO. That's always a combination of different activities, and also link building is kind of a part of this. And some of them they require obviously a separate budget, and some, like what I noted, that a lot of marketers they allocate budget for content marketing if they don't have enough resources, but they don't really think of allocating a separate budget on link building, and they don't really have enough resources or knowledge to execute link building on their own. And that might be a problem, especially if you're a part of a quite competitive niche, because nowadays links really matter. And for sure, meaningful links from quality websites, not each and every link matters, and not all links are created equal. And so I think even if you can't afford link building as a separate activity, or outsourcing this because it's quite expensive, definitely, then you can always circle back to a question of guest blogging. And if you don't know where to start from looking at websites of your partners and clients. Among them, most probably you can find a few guys that accept guest spots. And what you need to do, you just need to create a portfolio. And so if you do it in a meaningful way, you create solid content for those guest posts, then you can on your own, then even within a it depends on your how on your turnaround, but even within the next few months, you can even reach the very best blogs and pitch there just with the help of that portfolio that just you created. So I would still recommend doing some guest blogging, even if you don't have enough resources for link building. But just do it in a meaningful way. Don't outsource it to some, I don't know, like cheap copywriter that will create for you a copy for a few, like, bucks. Just like, do it in the right way, write like, content on your own, or at least write extended drafts that further can be just, turned into something solid with the help of like, outsourced copywriters.
Great. Thanks a lot. So basically what you're saying is like prepare a quality profile that will eventually take off and bring you organic or like natural links.
Yeah. That's not like, for the purpose of link building solely, but more for the purpose of making your brand stand out and showcasing to Google that you are a real brand that knows a thing in your, like, that have a solid expertise. And so, yeah, I mean, like it's not necessarily will pay off in the short run, but will definitely help you in the long run. And for sure, if you like, ended up writing on very, very solid industry blogs, then you can even use those guest posts to close your clients. That's what we do. I have like, columns on the Moz blog, Search Engine Journal, and so on. And like, I use them to just, to showcase my expertise and as a social proof.
Thanks. Yeah, we're actually like an hour has already gone by, but I would like for maybe 2 questions, like, because we don't want people just leave them hanging without anything. And I just have 2 questions that I found that I would like you guys to take a look at and give your piece of advice. So we have a question from Bella. Bella, what would you recommend to offline businesses that want to go online? So it's very simple, straightforward, but still a lot of people are still falling behind. So Matthew, do you have anything to add, like to say about this? Like, what is your?
Yeah, I mean, I would start by saying, be realistic with your expectations as you move online with SEO. I mean, depending on the niche that you're in, depending on the industry you're in, it might be really competitive. And if you're starting out, you're starting from the bottom rung. There might be really big, sites in your space, and that kind of gets to the next thing, which would be when you're starting out, to set those expectations. Make sure you do a lot of competitive research. Really understand why are they performing? Who's performing at their best? Who do you need to kind of emulate? Who do you need to kind of go after? To try and perform as best as you can online. But also, right, as you're moving online, SEO takes a while to build up. I mean, it's a long-term strategy. So if you have an expectation of getting more activity sooner, SEO might be a thing to keep in mind, but you might need to do some other things initially, right? You might need to invest in advertising. You might need to invest in email or social media or some other means of getting people to your website while you're working on SEO as well.
Appreciate it. Chris, what would you recommend to offline businesses that are going online?
Yeah, so we unfortunately we talk to a number of businesses every month, right? They try to go online, they build a website, and they have not done any kind of research if there are actually customers out there, and we see this all the time. So before you go online, do your research, understand, who's your customer, actually perform basic keyword research using tools such as SE ranking, Google Trends, etc. And actually don't make it just about you, make it about the person that you want to sell your stuff to. So you need to know that there's enough demand currently out there that your business can actually survive the first 6 to 12 months. Unfortunately, we see it all the time. People invest a ton of money into building amazing websites. Nobody's searching for what they have to offer. So make it all about your potential customer and not about you. Adjust your business model if you have to.
Great. That's excellent advice. Let's go to George. George, what about you? What is your suggestion to offline businesses? going on?
I think that I'm covered from the two previous answers. I would say that you have to see, especially if you consider investing in SEO in particular, you have to see whether or not this is a validated channel. Has it worked for other businesses in your niche? If yes, then you might go after it. If not, then it means that it may not be the best idea. Your money and your time could be better allocated somewhere else. So I would say it's extremely important that you see whether or not early on in the process, whether or not SEO is a validated channel in your industry, vertical, whatever.
Thanks. Alex, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with the rest of other experts, and especially with this Georgios, because he just pointed out very, very important thing. And I would add that so if there is any opportunity in terms of utilizing this kind of a channel, I would go with the community rather than trying to, I don't know, creating an SEO thread. I mean, I would, if I have enough budget, I would do both. I would create an SEO strategy and then waiting for results once, once they're going to start happening. But the quick win will be a community, because if you're an offline business, most probably you've already established some connections. And what you can try to do, you can try just, to use a community, on maybe that might be a closed Facebook group or Slack channel, depends what is more relevant to you. That might be a way not to start everything from scratch, because you can take advantage of your previous database and invite them to join your community and just try to kind of using the community and sell this kind of community across your potential users and clients. So I would do something like this if there is any opportunity to do that, for sure.
All right, thanks. I think we're gonna end it here. I appreciate all of you joining us and giving your opinions and thoughts, expert opinions on SEO and what to expect next year. Yeah, once again, I just want to thank everyone. I want to wish everyone a happy holidays and have a great next year, and to stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry
Bye,
Christmas.
everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye.